63 years, we've never had this problem. In our early days, we all helped each other. No one went against anybody. We agreed things. We used to have meetings up the village hall, as it was then, and it was all okay. But all of a sudden, we've got newcomers coming in, and I'm not against it because we've got quite a few, and a lot of them are damn nice people. But we've just got one or two who are a bit anti. And, you know, they don't do nothing much for the village, but they soon put the spoke in when we want to do something like that. That's my feeling.
But you think we should be proud of our national symbols, proud of our national flag?
Definitely, yeah. I was in the army. I only did national service, and when I finished national service, I was ill for a while actually. But anyhow, and then I went and joined the prison service, and that's so I've worked in things which, you know, the flag is important to us. We should always be proud of it. Not like these people that say we shouldn't have it because it might upset somebody because it's not their flag. Well, so what? You know, it's our flag. So we should be proud of it. Sod the rest of them. Let's excuse my... but that's me.
The People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. The top stories from the GB newsroom. The Metropolitan Police says a person has been stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival today, resulting in non-life-threatening injuries. But the force also says they stopped a vehicle believed to be en route to the event today, and the car was carrying a firearm. They arrested 2 people. Another firearm was seized at one of the entry points into the event. The force also says a man who was wanted for an attempted murder in Hackney in July was spotted at Carnival and arrested following a successful stop. Officers have made 145 arrests and seized 41 weapons today. 3 people were stabbed yesterday, including a 32-year-old mother who's in a serious condition in hospital. Sir Keir Starmer will say tomorrow that it will not be business as usual when Parliament returns next week. Sir Keir Starmer will compare his task as Prime Minister to the communities that rallied round to clean up in the wake of the summer's riots. He'll promise that his government will do the hard work to root out what he calls 14 years of rot under the Conservatives. Sir Keir will suggest the riots showed the cracks in our society after 14 years of what he calls populism and failure. Sir Keir will also use his speech to warn that things will get worse before we get better in the UK, as the Labour administration tries to deal with what they have called not just an economic black hole, but a societal black hole. In other news, residents of an East London block of flats engulfed by what they described as a nightmare fire say they've lost everything. Everyone has been accounted for and no injuries have been reported after a major incident was declared following the fire in Dagenham. Over 100 people were evacuated from the building, with 2 people taken to hospital. London Fire Commissioner Andy Rowe says a full investigation into the fire and its cause will now get underway. He says there will undoubtedly be concerns around the fire safety issues present within the building, and this will form part of their report. This morning, the German Chancellor laid flowers at a memorial site where 3 people were killed and 8 others injured in a stabbing on Friday. The 26-year-old behind the attack in Western Germany has been named as Issa al-H. That was after he gave himself up to the police. The Syrian national is now being investigated by German federal prosecutors for links to the Islamic State terror group. And Italian lawyer Nancy Dell'Olio has paid tribute to her ex-partner, former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson, after he died at the age of 76. And Nancy says, "I choose to remember the good times we shared and the moments that brought joy to our lives." The Swedish national became the first ever foreign manager of the England men's football team in 2001. Sven also managed a series of high-profile clubs such as Manchester City, Benfica, Roma and Fiorentina. Eriksson had pancreatic cancer, and at the start of this year he revealed he only had a year at best to live. His former England captain David Beckham posted an emotional tribute to him on social media today, saying, "We laughed, we cried, and we knew we were saying goodbye. Sven, thank you for always being the person you've always been, passionate, caring, calm and a true gentleman. Thank you, Sven. And in your last words to me, it will be OK." The Prime Minister also paid tribute, saying he'll be remembered for his tremendous contribution to English football, which brought joy to so many people over the years. And the FA president, Prince William, also paid his respects on X, saying, "I met him several times and was always struck by his charisma and passion for the game." And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, I'm Tatiana Sanchez. It's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Tuesday's newspapers with three top comedians. I'm Simon Evans. Tonight I'm joined by heterosexual life partners Leo Kearse and Kerry Marks. How are you, gentlemen?
Not bad. Are you heterosexual? You didn't tell me that.
Yes, but I don't really feel like I'm your life partner. Okay. It's not how I identify, really.
Okay.
I don't even heterosexual. I don't really walk around going, "Hey, I'm heterosexual." You know, it's not a big thing.
But
with
you
me.
certainly don't project that to me. So,
Do I?
No,
It just
no.
Comes, you mean it comes across anyway?
No, I'm saying it doesn't. No. I'm feeling more like, I don't know, a sort of upholstery format or something. Anyway.
I don't need to woo you, Simon.
Let's have a quick look at Tuesday's front pages. I'm a little creaky on this, been over a month. See if I can get through it. The Daily Telegraph, violent criminals allowed to just say sorry. And Sven-Göran Eriksson on the front cover there, as of many of them, revealed staggering rise in anxiety among children in The Guardian. The Times, police have given up on punishing shoplifters. The Daily Mirror, don't be sorry, smile. It's been fantastic. The Daily Express, Farage warns of shocks to come in the Labour budget. And finally, the Daily Star, our last chance to stop psycho killer robots. I bet we don't take it. Those were your front pages. So, Leo, we're going to start with the cover of the Daily Telegraph.
So the Telegraph, they've got a picture of Sven-Göran Eriksson, who sadly passed away, aged 76, and they've also got a story about violent criminals being allowed to just say sorry, including sex offenders as well. Sex offenders and people who've committed knife crime are among thousands, 150,000 to be exact, who will have no police record. They'll just be given these things called community resolutions when they're caught, when they admit to their crime. So it's a sort of informal agreement between the police and the person involved in. I mean, the definition says a low-level offence or antisocial behaviour, but obviously these are more serious, and this could be part of the, obviously the government is running out of space in jails. I mean, it's kind of already run out of space in jails, because now they want to arrest people for, sharing memes or, saying things online or shouting at a police dog.
Facebook posts.
Or waving an England flag in the wrong country, which is England. Things like that. So, I don't know, it feels like... I mean, who was it? Alexander, the guy who wrote Gulag Archipelago, said...
Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah, I wasn't going to try that. He said, a communist government frees criminals and criminalises and jails political dissidents. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here.
Well, yes, that is and friend Nick calls it anarcho-tyranny. That's right, where you try and distinguish between people who might be a threat to the state, to the regime, and people who are just common or garden criminals.
Oh, I don't think we're trying to work out which is which anymore at all. We're just going, there's no room. There's no room for them at all. We're giving twice as many community resolutions as actual criminal charges now, and... our prisons are full, but our hearts still have space. We're accepting apologies from... say sorry to the person you stabbed and molested. Shake hands. That's all sorted.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether we try giving them gifts, maybe. How about kisses? That might do it.
Yeah.
I suppose, to be serious, the question is just how violent are they, and are they attempted stabbings? I mean, surely somebody who's actually stabbed somebody must surely not be allowed to just
Well, I
say
think
sorry.
an attempted stabbing is a bit worrying, don't you?
Well, yes, I do. I mean,
They're probably much more violent than somebody who's shared a couple of pretty tame memes on Facebook.
Yeah,
And there doesn't seem to be any parity. And, you know, if everybody who shared memes, you know, from the left and from the right went to jail, then fine. If Nick Lowles from Hope Not Hate, if he went to jail for sharing inflammatory demand, this hoax that...
accusations, yeah.
It shouldn't be the offenders saying sorry. It should be the government saying sorry for not locking people up.
So the difference, they would say, is that they're trying to extinguish this fire before it catches, the idea that people can post social media, whereas I suppose violent criminals are considered to be isolated and, you know, they're not part of a wave. They're not part... I mean, I'm not saying I agree with this, but that's the argument.
But, I mean, some of the violent criminals that have been released, like there's Lawson Natty, so he was involved in the machete killing of a 14-year-old boy, and he's been let out of jail 6 months. After serving 6 months in jail, so that people who, you know, shared memes can go into jail for much longer. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it does seem statistically the way in which jail works is it locks people up, it keeps them off the street, stops them reoffending. All the other stuff is commentary.
Keeps people safe, yep.
Kerry, what are the Express leading with?
Farage warns of shocks to come in Labour budget. I don't know why this is particularly about Farage, because I thought quite a lot of people are warning about these shocks coming up, which...
The Express.
Almost certainly... Well, of course, yes, that's why. But it's still it's a general warning, isn't it? At the same time, Labour are saying that this isn't some horror show that's coming, but they are warning us of 10 years of pain for the UK with tax rises and so on. And they, of course, are justifying this with the black hole, which has become a mantra, this kind of vague metaphor, which is not a very good metaphor because a hole, you know, a hole in the finances, in the fiscal arrangements.
Yeah.
You fill a hole, you don't fill a black hole. That would be stupid.
Well, that's the thing, a black hole can't be filled.
It's
just
super massive.
Yeah, and also you can't look past the event horizon, so you know you don't know where your money's going. So actually, maybe it's a good analogy for the Labour government.
Might be a wormhole into a better future, though.
Well, they're certainly filling it up with everything they can. There's going to be like £18 billion more spent on asylum seekers or given citizenship.
And train drivers and so on, they're paying out. It should be a nice comfort for the pensioners who can't afford to heat their homes. They think at least the train drivers are being sorted out.
Nice warm cabins as well. I mean, maybe you could make pensioners train drivers. They don't have to do anything very demanding, do they? Once they're in, wheel them in.
They won't even know they're doing it.
There's your button.
The interesting thing is with his speech where he's kind of tying this in with as a metaphor with people who cleaned up after the riots. And this is Starmer saying, I feel pride in the people who cleaned up the streets, rebuilt walls and repaired the damage. And I thought the obvious parallels and imagine the pride we'll feel as a nation when after the hard work clearing up the mess. And he's basically trying to take that to say that's, you know, it's like I've seen people sweeping, so I thought some sweeping changes to the tax.
Well, it is like trying to create a really unsuitable metaphor as though we've all had some kind of riotous party for the last 14 years. The last 14 years under the Tory government, by the own accusations of Labour, have been of austerity. That was the main complaint made against them, that they were too concerned with the deficit and not sufficiently concerned with spraying money all over the place. And now they get in and go, oh, there's no money anywhere. Well, I mean, it's either been a massive party. The suspicion is they're trying to use this metaphor for a black hole or, you know, damn it, we're going to have to work to repair it, in order to justify spending plans which they have, which would be deeply unpopular when people actually register what they're going to spend the money on, right?
And also, I think ratcheting up taxes isn't going to be as palatable as it used to be because people who pay the most tax just aren't using the services. People, you know, 20 years ago, rich people would use the NHS. Now, rich people are all moving across the private sector, and same with schools and everything else.
Well,
so, you know, they're not going to...
Some will be moving out of the private sector for schools, I should think, in the next year, now that the VAT's come in.
Yeah, but overall, you know, rich people aren't getting anything back from public services. They're not getting anything back from the tax they pay.
No, they're not. And they're not even allowed to stand on the beaches with shotguns. It's disgraceful.
And it's easy for them to move as well.
Those were the days.
The cover of The Guardian, quickly, please, Leo. We have to snick through this one.
So The Guardian reveals the staggering rise in anxiety among children. I mean, maybe they're reading The Guardian. It seems to whip up enough fear. But you know, over 200,000 young people have been referred to mental health services and basically just need to put down their smartphones and go outside. But I guess we've not left the country in a good state for young people. There's a lot of, as well as social media, which is a new thing which induces anxiety. I mean, I grew up in a sort of, you know, culturally homogenous, safe country. It's called Scotland. But now, you know, we've got terrorism, grooming gangs, crime, rising knife crime, especially among young people. We've got all this gender nonsense in school, so now kids, you know, don't even know if they're a girl or at least, you know, before there was this sort of Cartesian, you know, absolute truth that you're a boy. Now you don't even have that. You've got critical race theory teaching people to hate their heritage and hate their country and hate themselves based on the colour of their skin. So it's not a good time to be young.
I mean, it's interesting. The Guardian would, of course, say that all the anxiety comes from the opposite. They would say that the anxiety comes from gender fascism, of people imposing gender rules on young people, and they would say that it was climate change, and they would say that it was race riots.
Yes,
you know, those
yes.
are the things that are causing anxiety. But one way or another, certainly we do create a cloud of anxiety about them.
But we have spent decades now participation medals and telling them that they all look perfect and everyone's beautiful and so on. Nothing is making any kind of difference, is it? And we're also, whilst mental illness, of course, is something important we should discuss and should help people, but we've also sort of glamorised it to some extent.
Yes.
And I kind of blame the Edinburgh Festival for that, really, more than anything. And I think there's some good shows up there, but there's an awful lot of, if you haven't got some neurodiversity, then
I went to see a few shows, and some were good and some were bad. But you're absolutely right; they almost all started on that premise. What's my quirk?
Yeah. Let's do my What's Wrong With Me show. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like this year's must-have accessory, isn't it? In fact, it has been for a few years.
And also, none of the genuinely autistic comedians did a show about their autism.
No.
It was all these perfectly socially normalised comedians doing it.
Very quickly, Kerry, 20 seconds, if you wouldn't mind, on the Daily Star.
20 seconds. AI is going to kill us. Our last chance to stop psycho killer robots. They're forever warning us about this, and maybe that'll be true, but to hell with it. Let's see what happens, and maybe they'll be really nice. Maybe they'll solve world poverty.
Well, if it does come to an end, it'll be short and sharp, I imagine, anyway, and efficient, right? The AI apocalypse?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, much more efficient than...
Yes, totally. They'll know what they're doing.
That's the front pages covered. Join us after the break for the German deportations and low expectations. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Ben, do you like baking?
Baking? Only flapjack.
Why flapjack?
It's just a childhood favourite. Otherwise, no, I don't have time to do anything, no.
Yeah.
No, do you?
I love baking.
Really?
Yeah, I find it really relaxing.
You never bring in any treats for me.
I know, I was thinking
Scones
that's
or
going to come next,
cakes?
isn't it? Scones.
Oh, it's my birthday next week.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what to do?
I've
You're not
really
here,
dug
are
a
you?
hole for myself now, haven't I? No, I actually am here next week.
OK, well, you know what to do then.
OK. I'm delighted to say that we're joined now by JP from Bridget's Bakery.
BB is the brand, is the face, is the smile. She originated the motto, making London smile, so that's what we try to do on board of our lovely buses and in our shops.
Which is probably the most British thing you could imagine.
Yes, we try to do a 3-in-1. We try to really embrace all of the culture and history, so... Roadmaster buses, 1970s. Oh, nice pictures. We have the full afternoon tea, 1700.
JP, is it scone or scone? And also, where does the word come from?
Ben.
Is it of French origin?
Ben, how very dare you asking me? Are you trying
He's
to
not
actually put me
French.
under the spotlight? I would say, according to a Belgian person,
Yeah.
it's scone.
Scone.
Exactly.
Oh, that's what
so
you
I like
say.
to do
Yeah.
a mix of both. But I would say...
Sorry, JP.
Common as muck. and another key question which many Brits get tangled up in is it the jam first or the cream first?
So, I'll tell you a very scientific fact I just made up on my way here this morning. The best way to eat your scone or scone is, first step, you split it in 2 halves.
Yeah.
On one half, you do the cream and jam. The other half, the jam and cream.
Oh, no.
Then, if you feel like people looking at you, you should squash it together. And if really the tension is quite high, you should give your scone to the nearest person holding a chef jacket. There you go.
That sounds too diplomatic.
Yeah.
The People's Channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive?
Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners with me, Simon Evans, Leo Kearse and Kerry Marks. Leo, we have the Telegraph, Olaf Out Loud Schulz. That's my nickname for him, Olaf Out Loud Schulz. German Premier, I assume he's the Premier, has promised to slam the stable door after this week's diversity in Solingen.
That's right, yeah. So Olaf Scholz, the German Premier, is not the snowman from Frozen, has pledged to speed up deportations after a suspected Islamist knife attack in the city of Solingen. They say suspected, but it seemed pretty clear-cut. A 26-year-old Syrian with suspected links to the Islamic State group, who did actually claim it. So, you know, they've said, or somebody representing them has said that he carried it out on their behalf. Stabbed many people, I think 11 people, at a festival of diversity in Germany.
Not as part of the scheduled entertainment.
Well, that's the worst thing about it. If it started happening, you might think it's one of the performances.
Oh, here we go. This is a little Sonne Lumiere about...
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're showing all the impact of diversity. Yeah. But yeah, so basically, I mean, it's horrific. Three people dead, and there are regional elections this week in, I think it's in the east of Germany, where the AfD are doing really well. So it's in Saxony and Thuringia. So the AfD, who are the sort of a more right wing, they're called far right. But I'm, you know, every time I see far right and then I look at what their policies are, it seems that's sensible when
sort
people
of
are getting stabbed.
1970s conservatism.
Yeah, it's like people are getting stabbed in the neck. Maybe we should do something about it. You know what I mean? So this is obviously threatening Olaf Scholz and the sort of centrist parties. So he is saying he's going to speed up deportations. And we're seeing this across Europe. Sweden actually has net emigration now.
They've started remigrating. And just, I don't know if you know about this, but it does seem the AfD is Alternative for Deutschland, isn't it? Have a much stronger base in East Germany. Yeah. Which is interesting in itself because most of the ex-Soviet nations are the ones that are particularly sceptical about the benefits of immigration.
Yeah.
You do notice that. And, of course, that's within Germany as well. Even though Germany is unified and it's just one country, there's a strong regional differentiation between those who have any interest in... Yeah.
But it's also whether you consider them far right or not. They're still being fed. You know, even if you think this is the far right, it's like if you're not having the conversation or this conversation with in a more reasonable way, then what can happen? You know, Scholz, his nickname in Germany is Scholzomat. No, that is just because he's very robotic in his demeanour. He's very calm,
he's like
unruffled, which is why it's interesting. He's quite ruffled over this. And yes, deportations, and also he's talking about weapons controls and so on. And there was a video of the guy who did the stabbing who said beforehand, he said it was intended to carry out reprisals for massacres in the Middle East and beyond, which isn't very specific, really. I don't know whether beyond is, like, everywhere.
Mars.
Well, Mars, yeah, the whole, everything you can imagine.
He's an agent of cosmic justice. We have to move on, Kerry, sorry, but we've got to catch up. Telegraph again, Leo, an unusually relatable attitude to crime from the Met, if somewhat short of actual condemnation.
So the Metropolitan Police has said it is tired of seeing crime scenes at the Notting Hill Carnival after 3 people, including a mother, were stabbed on Sunday. So the 32-year-old mother was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries after she was stabbed in front of her child at the festival in West London. And 15 officers were also assaulted and 90 arrests were made. And it's interesting that this seems to be the Met actually speaking out against the establishment, speaking out against the Labour Party and saying, like, listen, we're the people in the front line. We have to deal with this. We don't really like doing it. And, you know, do we really need to have this festival? What's interesting as well is how the establishment report on it compared to how they report on, you know, say, for example, there was a sort of Patriots rally. There's been a couple of them over the summer that passed off pretty much without incident. And the establishment, you know, were like far-right bigots, march, evil thugs. And whereas this one, Sky described as, they said, there's been 3 stabbings, but it's mostly peaceful. And it's like, no, it wasn't peaceful for the people stabbed.
It's interesting the way they gather the statistics as well. I read a piece today by our friend Sam Ashworth-Hayes in The Telegraph explaining, and this was to no great surprise, that the way they gather the statistics about the size of the event to begin with is largely based on the amount of people who appear in front of St John's Ambulance and so on. They have no idea how many people actually are attending the carnival.
Really?
In fact, it would be very hard to say so anyway.
So with demonstrations we are now. We're using aerial photos and using methods of counting.
With the Notting Hill Carnival, they have historically based the figures and estimates on how many people attend based on how many people...
And they can't move away from the historical method and say there's a better way now.
Well...
Really?
I think part of the problem is because they have, you know, historically speaking, if you had like 1 million people and you have 3 stabbings in London, you go, well, that's pretty much par for the course anyway, right? Do you know what I mean? That's like Sadiq Khan has done so much to bring up the quotidian level of
that argument, of course, because we're talking about 1 million to 2 million people, which, you know, you would get those kind of
figures. But there you go. You see, you're saying 1 million to 2 million. I mean, that's
quite a variance.
Yes, it is.
You know, I'm going roughly
that's like somewhere between Southampton and Birmingham.
Even if it's 500,000, that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of people, right?
I don't think there's anything like that.
But OK, like, I saw some of the pictures today, and it does look like, you know, the streets just packed with thousands and thousands of people.
But it's interesting.
That was just the queue for the jerk chicken. But but of course, and there's lots of diversity of knives. Going on
of so many different
types.
shapes.
So, but you're about to move on, aren't you?
I think this is the first time the Met have really spoken out against the government and said, you know, listen, we're kind of a bit tired of
policing this nonsense and also getting twerked at. Staying with the Telegraph, Kerry, a little pre-debate argy-bargy over hot mics, although not the way round you might expect.
Hot mic sounds fun, doesn't it? It sounds like a kind of game, but it's not what you think it is. Trump threatens to skip the debate after Harris' team demands hot mics. So what's interesting here is that the Biden administration were against the mics being turned on. They didn't want to give that opportunity to Trump. And now Kamala and her team want it the other way around because they're hoping to trip him up, that he'll accidentally say something silly. So these are a load of games going on. At the same time, Trump is saying that he doesn't particularly want to be with do this on ABC News because they're biased. And these are all games backwards and forwards. The truth is, it'd be interesting to see this. I hope it does happen because we don't know anything about Kamala. We know Kamala as she was a vice president and former senator of California, but that person has vanished, been replaced by this new Kamala who's all happy and perfect and going to change America into the happiest place in the world. And,
joy in the morning.
And we're looking at some interviews with people at the Democratic Convention who are they're just zombies. They don't have any. If they're asked about her policies, they've got nothing to say at the moment other than she's going to make it happy.
And funny, I watched a number of clips. I didn't watch the whole speeches, but Chris Cuomo, who seems to have had a bit of a sort of waking up and an embasoning in the last couple of years, having been quite a sort of Democratic mouthpiece, was incredibly cynical about the whole process, and cynical in particular about claims that the Democrats are the party of the common man, and they're going to stop all this kind of corporate gouging. It's like, take a look up there. They pay $500,000 a day for those suites. Very funny. I mean, you're absolutely right. It is interesting tactically that I thought it did actually it helped Trump that the hot mic thing is his mic goes quiet while Biden is speaking. He can't interrupt Biden. And I think they did that because they were worried that Trump would easily destabilise Biden, that they would knock him off course and Biden would forget where he was. But actually, it was so unnecessary to do that, and it just gave Biden enough rope to hang himself.
Yeah, and Kamala's been really effective campaigning against Trump. She's got there's this line that's been fed to all the media agencies. You see them all repeating it, that Trump is weird, and he sort of gives them the ick, which is completely moronic, but very effective. And Trump doesn't know how to deal with it. He's standing there going like, I'm not weird. You can ask anybody. I'm not weird. I'm really normal. I'm a normal guy. And it's like...
He's been particularly falling for it, isn't he? Yeah, totally.
I mean, they particularly hit Vance with that, and then they realised it was working so well, they just kind of rolled it out against everyone. And they kind of go, you're weird. You're kind of weird in my bedroom. You're weird. You're trying to get my kids' school. And you're like... You're the one who's got drag queens in kids. Anyway, BMA faces a mutiny in the Times, Leo, against an anti-cash review tabled by a man who identifies as a dolphin. I was interested to see.
So this is the British Medical Association, which is the union for doctors, but its members are resigning in revolt over the BMA's stance on transgender children. So the BMA is tearing itself apart. The BMA formally rejected the Cass review, which was a review that said, maybe we shouldn't give drugs and puberty blockers and hormones to children and then, cut their bits off. Maybe, there are some unforeseen consequences that we need to look into before we do that, which, a drunk guy in Wetherspoons could have told you instead of getting a review to do it. But, you know, it's just common sense. But now, you know, the BMA has come out and rejected that. But it turns out that they had this sort of almost a secret vote that passed as official BMA policy. But they've got 200,000 members that weren't involved in that vote. So it was just a small body of members who did this and then passed it off. And obviously a lot of the medical establishment don't think that we should be drugging and maiming children.
Yeah. Did you spot the man Dolphin? You didn't get him. He's in there. He's halfway
What's
down.
Who's the Dolphin?
There's a man, he's called Dolphin. He's called Dolphin.
His name is Dolphin.
Yes, his name is Dolphin. I was just
I thought
hoping
you were
he'd
saying
get him in.
identified as a dolphin, but that's nonsense.
But funny, well, only because it comes up later. But that's the end of part 2. After the break, we've got Elon and Pavel, Contramundum, and no more Miami Mamma Mia. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast for GB News from the Met Office. Northwest, southeast split developing with our weather. Wet and windy weather pushing in from the Atlantic across the north and the west, but turning quite warm as high pressure holds on across southeastern parts of the UK. And you can see this weather front moving in through Monday evening overnight into Tuesday, bringing some wet and windy weather. In fact, cloud and rain increasing already across Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland pushing north and eastwards. The rain turning particularly heavy as we head into the early hours, and Met Office warning across southwest Scotland for some heavy bursts of rain, some travel disruption first thing Tuesday morning. Elsewhere, generally dry with some clear spells, winds coming up from the south, so no problems with temperatures. So wet start across Scotland on Tuesday morning, outbreaks of heavy rain in places. There'll be some tricky travelling conditions, some brisk winds around the coast and over the hills as well, temperatures around the mid-teens. Cloudy and wet across parts of Northern Ireland as well, but the heaviest of the rain here starting to clear. Heavy rain across Cumbria through the morning, brighter further south and east. Wales generally dry, but rain soon approaching from the west, and the rest of England dry and bright to start Tuesday morning with some hazy sunshine. Through the day, this weather front only slowly pushes a little further south and eastward, so rain continuing across southern Scotland, northern England, pushing into parts of Wales and perhaps the West Country at times too. Bright skies following behind across Northern Ireland, Scotland, fresh here. Ahead of it though, dry, warm and sunny, temperatures reaching around 25, 26 Celsius. On Wednesday, this weather front still across central and western parts of England and Wales, though starting to fizzle out. Warm and sunny ahead of this. Further showers and rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, rather fresh here. And temperatures in that sunshine in the southeast reaching around 28, 29 Celsius. Settling down by the end of the week, temperatures a little lower. See you soon.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners for the second half. We kick off with the Daily Mail, Kerry. Their take on Elon Musk, standing by Pavel Durov and Telegram, and they get a little dig in at the hairlines as well.
Liberté, 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 apparently Musk has tweeted, because he can tweet as much as he likes. And he's talking about this, yes, the Russian counterpart, Pavel Durov, who owns Telegram, which... I've not looked at Telegram myself, but I've heard a lot about it. I notice that people on X, on Twitter, call it a cesspit, so it's got to be pretty bad. But what we're into is really this forever war between free speech and censorship. Those for free speech will always win over the people into censorship because they can call them by much nastier names that they're not prepared to use themselves.
Yeah.
So,
just to clarify, Telegram is not like Twitter. Telegram is more like WhatsApp.
It's a bit more like WhatsApp, and it's supposed to be encrypted messages, although I read a thing today saying they're not really that much encrypted, and if you cancel your account and go back in, apparently the messages come up again, so I'm not sure whether the encryption is working that well.
But the boss, the head of Telegram has been, so the Elon Musk equivalent has been arrested in France, which is, I mean, this is pretty serious intimidation of somebody. And the reason
crimes
for
against minors they've put, but that's not him attacking minors.
No, that's not him. So they're saying his app has facilitated, you know, terrorism and crime and all this sort of stuff. But all the apps, like Facebook, every telephones, like pens can be used to write hate crime messages. You know what I mean?
Arrest the pens.
Post offices, our postal network was used to send letter bombs by the IRA. Like, we weren't dragging postmasters in. We should have been dragging them in for
And he's got like 950 million users. So I think realistically, the idea that he can kind of there's a lot of talk about exactly what might be going on below the surface, what might be kind of pressure being brought to bear.
Well, they're bringing pressure on him to. They already tried to get him to install a backdoor so they can spy on what other people are saying, and Telegram refused. Previously, Russia put political pressure on Telegram, because they're based in Russia, to let them see Ukrainian messages, and Telegram refused, and they were patted on the back for that. So now, you know, it's the West trying to get that backdoor access, and there's there's a lot of pressure on social media sites at the moment, because, you know, everybody in the West, all the sort of authoritarian governments are saying, oh, there's misinformation, we need to stop misinformation. But, you know, who gets to decide what's misinformation? The same people, you know, said Hunter Biden's laptop story was misinformation.
Sure. And the way these things are used is just as Hamas will use Telegram, but at the same time, people under authoritarian regimes are able to use Telegram, and we're able to hear a little bit about what they have to say. So we've heard a lot from people in Lebanon talking about their fears of Hezbollah fighting even and causing a war. So some of this stuff would not be coming out if it wasn't for...
No, you're right. I mean, during the Arab Spring, you know, social media, that was the first great use of social media, wasn't it? We were seen as being the weapon of the people. And a lot of the colour protests and colour riots and so on, destabilising regimes, the CIA used it very effectively. It's, you know, these things can be used by everyone. Telegraph now, not Telegram, Leo, and it's not OK to be white in Birmingham by the sound of it.
Apparently not. So racist graffiti in Birmingham reading "No whites" and "No whites allowed" is being investigated by police to see if it's actually a banner above any public sector institution. Interestingly, the police officers who are investigating this will then have to attend diversity training where they'll be told that whites are bad. So it's a bit ironic. I mean, this is basically CCTV footage obtained by the Telegraph shows the moment a hooded figure approaches the first location at 1:20 a.m. in the morning and then sprays it on the wall. But yeah, this is interesting because this is critical race theory that, you know, is spread through all our institutions, and now it's manifesting itself on the streets. And even the Muslims protesting in Rochdale, they were repeating this sort of critical race theory, saying that there's systemic racism and all this sort of stuff.
Is it? Because I got the feeling it was more just like straight up racism, like just straight up no whites, we don't want whites around here, this is our turf. Is that critical race theory, or is that just old-fashioned tribalistic sort of?
They're both old-fashioned tribalistic racism. They're both.
I mean, it could lend itself, yes, because it is a theory of psychology and the way people of different colours think, and particularly white people think in an evil way. So that probably doesn't help. At the same time, what's interesting about this is the police don't like to say what colour someone was when they offended. But this one, we can be pretty sure they weren't white.
A hooded figure whose shadow spoke for itself. Anger now, Kerry. Anger in The Independent, not the wrath of Achilles, but a report on the ungaying of Florida's tourist websites.
Anger as Florida removes LGBTQ plus tourism info from a state website. The state website is called Visit Florida. And we don't really, in this story, find out why they made the decision. In fact, their spokespeople were asked and haven't said, so we're only hearing one side of it, really. We're told several Florida cities have long been top US destinations for LGBTQ plus tourists, but maybe not for long. I don't think that's true. I think gays normally know where to go.
Yeah.
I think they'll figure it out. You know, they're good at that. They have a sense, you know. So
well, that's
nice thing too, as well. And good luck to you.
They wouldn't even rely on the state website, would they?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous to do that. I must go to the official Ron DeSantis website to find out. You know, like, no.
Without knowing their reasons, we don't know. In a sense, a lot of the LGBT stuff, there's now have rainbows on top of rainbows. Some of it's been sort of rammed down at everyone's throats to the point that maybe it's actually coming down.
It's really hard to tell, you know, what's a bank and what's a gay bar now.
Yeah.
Or a car showroom or a municipal library. I mean, Florida has, to be briefly serious, it has been at the forefront of fighting back against this stuff in the schools and so on, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, the sort of LGBTQ lobby pushed too far, and I think a lot of gay people don't like that it was pushed too far, because in the Independent, this is the Independent, so it's, you know, basically the Guardian, but not the Guardian. They say that gay people are being erased. Some of the examples are they're forbidding classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, that's got nothing to do with that. Should be banned. They've supported a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Again, that, you know, we shouldn't be transitioning children, as well as a law meant to keep children out of drag shows. That's not homophobia. That's just drag shows aren't for children.
In fact, if anything, transitioning is erasing gay people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the joke that used to go around the clinic, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Tavistock.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know how. I think there's a thin line here between whether it's an ideology that's gone too far and is now easing down a little bit, but there's also, of course, the religious right in America, who probably do, to some extent, want to erase and get rid of gay marriage. I think that's going on as well.
The Florida State tourist website says no gays allowed, and then that'll be the follow-up.
that would definitely be a clue as to where they're coming from here, yes.
Evidence that 2024 is the new 1974 mounts now, Leo, as churches are told to resort to blankets over heaters to keep parishioners toasty.
Yeah, so give worshippers blankets instead of heating churches, vicars are told. This is because apparently it's too expensive to heat the churches just for an hour and a half a week. So the Reverend Giles Goddard, who's helped to spearhead the Church of England's 2030 net zero campaign, says that heating the old stone churches is economically not worth it. I mean, it might be economically worth it if nobody comes because it's too cold. Also, his own church in Waterloo has had a £6 million investment to make it greener. So they could have. I mean, that's nice for all the people who aren't getting their heating bills.
$6 million?
Yeah, $6 million to make it greener. I don't know what that was.
Take all the lead off the roof.
Yes.
I remember hearing this sermon, and the Lord said, "Give them blankets."
Yeah.
I've never thought it's so cold I must go to a church and warm up.
Churches are cold. I tell you what, it would be a night. I've been saying for years, if you could get some decent programme going in the countryside, that old people could go to churches. Not have to heat their own homes.
Sure. You know what we should do is more like the Pentecostal churches in America, people lurching and jumping around and singing. Right. That'll warm them up.
I thought you were going to say they'd be on fire. That's the Pentecostalism. Our first dose of The Guardian this evening, Kerry, and the latest pitiful attempt to justify vanity as the pressure on women to look a certain way.
And it is about women as well. They don't say that at the beginning. People think that looking better means you will have a better life. Why Gen Z spends so much on beauty, but of course they're talking about female... this is all women, so I assume that's what it's about. What's really going on here is it's bank holiday, so we're getting Sunday news. This is so not news. This is one of these articles where we go through each character and all these different people we don't know tell us about things we don't care about, which is that despite... Once again, as I said earlier on, we've for ages been saying everyone's beautiful and fat doesn't matter and so on, but really people haven't changed. They still want to be attractive, and also this is spurred on by TikTok, even though there are filters now and so on.
Yes.
But the article is blaming everything from COVID, lockdown, climate change and everything else as to why girls want to look pretty, but maybe they just do.
I wonder, though, if you have a point with the TikTok that people are always monitoring, you know, their rivals, aren't they, to see how they're doing. And you see everyone through a filter all the time, and then you see yourself in the mirror. I wonder if that's... I don't know.
Well, you can see yourself through a filter as well.
That's
true,
wow. Isn't it?
Well, there's an arms race as well for women. So the amount they're spending... So this 28-year-old influencer spends £500 a month on grooming appointments, and then on top of that, £300 every 3 months on Botox. I mean, it does sound expensive, but for a man...
How old is she?
28, so
she obviously
doesn't...
Botox?
Yeah, she probably looks about 45 because of all that.
But if a man spends that much on grooming, he's bad.
Well, this is the thing. Like, it sounds expensive, but for me to increase my attractiveness by that amount, by that level, I'd have to spend 10 years studying to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
So,
are you trying to give us get us to give you compliments now. Sorry. You're really beautiful, Leo.
The thing is, your sexual marketplace value continues to rise until you're 45, Leo, as you well know. As your wallet gets thicker.
I'm past that point, so...
Just the final section to go with making Danish bacon and what some might say is the reunion we've all been waiting for. See you after the break.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Joined now by the founder of Quintet London, Tamta Masulishvili, who channels her experience and fervour for fashion into her innovative brands which produce artworks on silk. You brought in some lovely things which we'll discuss in just a moment. Tell me a little bit about the complexity of printing an artist's idea onto silk. Is that a difficult thing to do?
It's actually very simple because we just simply ask our clients a set of questions to find out what they like, their experiences, their favorite objects or anything they desire. We create out of this information preliminary sketch, show it to clients until it's perfect. We change it according to their needs.
Are you saying that everything that you're doing here is personalised to a client? It's a commission from a client?
Every single piece is totally unique. We make each individual piece for the client taste. So every single piece is totally different. And what is nice, for example, we do like wedding favors, corporate gifts, investors' gifts, and every single time we would match the theme throughout to the actual company theme and so on.
Now here we have a series of little silk ties. Am I right to call them ties?
This one's actually called twillies. Twilly.
Yes. I didn't know the word twilly. Yes. These have a name. So this is the name of your client in this case. This one is Amanda, I think.
Exactly. So actually these are our signature design. So if you want to give someone something quickly, but just simply add their names, you can order from our website and you just simply need to insert their name and we can produce it on your favorite color combination. But then obviously our main product is totally unique pieces which are bespoke.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said storm. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners for our final section. Leo, confusing or rather just wrong headline about Oasis in the Mail, directly contradicted by paragraph 5. But anyway, leave that to you.
So Liam Gallagher is worth 8 times more than his elder brother Noel, according to this. Liam Gallagher's net worth is said to be 8 times that of his elder brother Noel, but experts say they're set to make almost £500 million if the rumoured reunion goes ahead. They got this wrong. Liam obviously isn't richer. Noel is much richer because he wrote the songs, so he gets the royalties from the songs. But Liam, the important thing is that Liam, who's 51 now, I can't believe that. That makes me feel old. Sent tongues, I think they mean set tongues wagging, that he and his brother, who's 57, oh my God.
He's my age.
What on earth is going on? Have finally buried the hatchet after 15 years. So Liam dedicated a song to Noel at the Reading Festival, and they might be reforming, because basically they need money now.
Well, it sounds like Liam, once they get their figures worked out and organised, as you say, Noel gets money every time a song is played on the radio and Liam doesn't. But or indeed a special tribute after a bomb has gone off, of course. But Liam's down to his last 6 million, which actually sounds like... But it's not that great for a massive rock star, is it? 6 million. I mean, you could blow that in a big night when you're at the top of the game, couldn't you?
I feel like this whole article is like they're trying to start a fight. And also they do get this the wrong way around. They start off with Liam Gallagher is worth 8 times more than his elder brother Noel, and just a few paragraphs down, it says Noel has an estimated worth of 53 million, while his younger brother Liam, 51, is worth just 6. So that's a reversal of where we started from.
We just said all of that.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is they've reversed it in their own article.
Yeah, I also said that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, say again. I thought you said that they're getting it wrong, but not that they're getting it wrong within the article.
Let's go through it one more time.
I will argue this with you afterwards. Yeah, it's. I mean, he's basically saying he's doing the show for the money, which I think would be quite off-putting if you were going along. Right?
I think so,
not for the love, not because he cares about the music or
it's like
his
porn.
audience.
Once it starts, it's all good, isn't it? Fertility news from Denmark in the iNews, Kerry, and how the little sperm maid didn't get into this headline, I don't know.
OK, so Denmark became the sperm capital of the world. The country is home to the world's biggest sperm banks and a major supplier for would-be parents around the world. Now, more than 1% of all children born in Denmark are conceived using donor sperm, and apparently we're really into Denmark donor sperm as well over here.
Are we?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a new type of colonialism going on. You know, the Vikings had their time, and now they're trying to do it more subtly.
At least they're not killing people with axes first.
Yeah, well, they moved on from that. It is interesting.
Do you think if you look under the microscope and they've all got little horny hats on, they're wriggling around?
I mean, it's nice to be known for something, even if it's just that you've got the biggest sperm banks in the world.
Yeah.
Or whether it's just the biggest sperm. Maybe it's a really big sperm.
Interestingly, well, to me anyway, the couple who've written the story is, of course, a lesbian couple, same-sex couple. I don't know whether this is an underestimated sort of source of revenue, but I have seen a couple of female comedians talk about how ludicrously expensive it is.
Really?
To get like a properly accredited sperm, and you're like thinking, I think there's probably a cheaper way of doing it than that. If
you want to, just send a stamped addressed jiffy bag into the GBNews studio, and we will sort you out. Who could it be? You'll find out in 20 years.
Meet in a telephone box somewhere.
Sell the sizzle. Over to the Times now, Leo, but staying with the greatest love of all, and it's bad news for fur babies and cat mums, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so parental love activates the brain like no other bond. They've done MRI scans on people and read them stories based on 6 different kinds of love. The love for children, for romantic partners, for close friends, for pets, for strangers in need, and nature.
That's not love.
Yeah, that's annoyance. Annoyance. It's
fiercely restrained irritation.
And they found that people love their children more than anything. I mean, do they need to do a scan for that?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a house fire and you rescued the cat and then you went back with the children, I think the whole world would frown, wouldn't they? They all go, I can't imagine many people going, yeah, that's understandable.
I think maybe it does need saying, though, maybe it is nice to say when we have this massive fertility crisis that people don't perhaps quite realise just how extraordinary the love you feel for your child is. It is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, and it's interesting they're showing the parts of the brain that are firing up, and it's definitely a physical thing, but we know it's a thing.
Well, yeah, but I think maybe people don't know. Maybe people do think when they have a cat or a pug on their lap, they think, I get everything from you without the school fees, you know, and actually, no, there's a bit more. There is something very special about it, isn't there?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. It really it blew my mind, and I can't believe it's sort of covered up in the media. And you know, the Guardian runs articles saying, "Oh, stay single and drink margaritas." Yeah. Having a kid is the most amazing thing in the world.
You ever hugged a tree? Try it.
Blokes talking, right?
Yeah.
You know, imagine if you actually had the hormones, not really to kind of turbo boost.
Not real blokes.
Literary scholars now putting the record straight on Dickens' marriage, Kerry.
Letter shows Dickens lied about having a bleak spouse. It turns out a fiction writer lied. I'm sure he wrote a physical description of his wife that was probably about 4 or 5 paragraphs. But apparently he wasn't telling the truth. He was probably just trying to make excuses to his new lover. And her letters to her son, who, by the way, was called... I'm going to try and get this right. You might help me. Plornish Maroon Tigunter. Did you read that?
He had an odd nickname, yeah. That wasn't his Christian name, but, yeah, they had an odd
nickname.
That's
his nickname? How long is his name?
I think there's
several pages.
I think there's a suggestion that Dickens wasn't a terribly nice man in his private life, and he married this second wife.
What writers were? How many authors turn out to be lovely people?
And all the best.
Racists or something.
We have Yeah, we're going to squeeze this last one in now. Leo, two-tier policing and victim blaming after a string of sexual assaults in Japan. This is in the Telegraph.
So a sexually frustrated dolphin is blamed for 18 attacks on swimmers, who I assume are Japanese people. So yeah, when we're used to sharks attacking people, but this is a dolphin attacking people. It would only get a community. It would get a tap in the wrist from the police in Britain. Wouldn't go to jail at all. Wouldn't get sent to SeaWorld.
Send them along to the Notting Hill Carnival. Is he a bottlenose dolphin, incidentally? I just want to know which kind he is.
Why would that chafe?
Yeah, well, no, I just want to know exactly what the nature of the assault is.
Well, he's a randy dolphin. They're pretty dangerous when they get randy, you know. They have very large appendixes.
I have heard that they can become operable, like, consciously, like they have conscious control over their own... Have you heard that?
Well, they are able to grip with their penis and drag someone.
Wow.
Has their penis got arms?
It's prehensile. It can move around. It can grab. It's full of muscles. Yeah, absolutely.
The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick let's take another quick look at Tuesday's front pages. Daily Telegraph. Violent criminals allowed to just say sorry. The Guardian revealed staggering rise in anxiety among children. The Times, police have given up on punishing shoplifters. Daily Mirror, don't be sorry, smile. It's been fantastic. Bye-bye, Sven. And the Daily Express, Farage warns of shocks to come in Labour budget. And finally, the Daily Star. This is our last chance to stop the psycho-killer robots. Those were your front pages. That's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Leo and Kerry. And I'll be here again tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Kerry again and Nick Dixon. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Otherwise, thank you and good night.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast for GB News from the Met Office. Northwest, southeast split developing with our weather. Wet and windy weather pushing in from the Atlantic across the north and the west, but turning quite warm as high pressure holds on across southeastern parts of the UK. And you can see this weather front moving in through Monday evening overnight into Tuesday, bringing some wet and windy weather. In fact, cloud and rain increasing already across Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland pushing north and eastwards. The rain turning particularly heavy as we head into the early hours, and Met Office warning across southwest Scotland for some heavy bursts of rain, some travel disruption first thing Tuesday morning. Elsewhere, generally dry with some clear spells, winds coming up from the south, so no problems with temperatures. So wet start across Scotland on Tuesday morning, outbreaks of heavy rain in places. There'll be some tricky travelling conditions, some brisk winds around the coast and over the hills as well, temperatures around the mid-teens. Cloudy and wet across parts of Northern Ireland as well, but the heaviest of the rain here starting to clear. Heavy rain across Cumbria through the morning, brighter further south and east. Wales generally dry, but rain soon approaching from the west, and the rest of England dry and bright to start Tuesday morning with some hazy sunshine. Through the day, this weather front only slowly pushes a little further south and eastward, so rain continuing across southern Scotland, northern England, pushing into parts of Wales and perhaps the West Country at times too. Brighter skies following behind across Northern Ireland, Scotland, fresh here. Ahead of it though, dry, warm and sunny. Temperatures reaching around 25, 26 Celsius. On Wednesday, this weather front still across central and western parts of England and Wales, though starting to fizzle out. Warm and sunny ahead of this. Further showers and rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, rather fresh here. And temperatures in that sunshine in the southeast reaching around 28, 29 Celsius. Settling down by the end of the week, temperatures a little lower. See you soon.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win an incredible £30,000 in cash. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Time is ticking. Get your entry in now. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A very good evening to you. I hope you're having a fantastic Bank Holiday Monday. I'm Martin Daubney and this is GBN Tonight. Tonight's top story, Sir Keir Starmer's government has been hit with not one but two scandals in 1 month. Fresh accusations have emerged as a Labour donor who paid for the Prime Minister's suits was handed a number 10 pass for reasons Downing Street is refusing to explain. And 7 years after the tragedy of the Grenfell Tower, a building in Dagenham was set ablaze after its unsafe cladding also caught fire. It's been reported that only a quarter of buildings with life-threatening cladding problems have been remediated. I'll be speaking to the former Labour MP of Kensington, who was in position during the Grenfell disaster, to ask her, has anything changed? Have any lessons been learned? Next up, Notting Hill Carnival's Family Day saw 3 stabbings, including of a mother with her child, who is now said to be in a life-threatening condition. This weekend, the Metropolitan Police admitted the carnival was seen as an opportunity to commit crime. Is it time to ditch the carnival? So we've got an action-packed menu there. Please get in touch with all your thoughts. You know how to do it. Go to gbnews.com/your say. This is your show as much as mine. First, though, here's your news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you and good evening. The top stories. Italian lawyer Nancy Dell'Olio has paid tribute to her former partner, who she describes as her ex-husband, the former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson, after he died at the age of 76. Nancy says, "I choose to remember the good times we shared and the moments that brought joy to our lives." The Swedish national became the first ever foreign manager of the England men's football team in 2001. Sven also managed a series of high-profile clubs like Manchester City, Benfica, Roma and Fiorentina. Eriksson had pancreatic cancer, and at the beginning of this year, he revealed he only had a year to live at best. His former England captain David Beckham posted an emotional tribute on social media, saying, "We laughed, we cried, and we knew we were saying goodbye. Sven, thank you for always being the person you've always been, passionate, caring, calm, and a true gentleman. Thank you, Sven, and in your last words to me, it will be okay." The Prime Minister has said he'll be remembered for his tremendous contribution to English football, which brought joy to so many over the years. And FA President Prince William's also paid respects on X, saying, "I met him several times and was always struck by his charisma and passion for the game. My thoughts are with his family and friends, a true gentleman of the game." In other news, residents of an East London block of flats engulfed by what they call a nightmare fire say they've lost everything. Everyone's been accounted for and no injuries reported after a major incident was declared following the fire in Dagenham. Over 100 people were evacuated from the building, with 2 people taken to hospital. London Fire Commissioner Andy Rowe says a full investigation into the fire and its cause will now be underway. He says there will undoubtedly be concerns around the fire safety issues present within the building, and this will form part of our report. A British man killed by a missile strike in eastern Ukraine has been named as safety advisor Ryan Evans. The 38-year-old was part of a reporting crew working with the news agency Reuters when the hotel they were staying at in Krematorsk was struck on Saturday. The agency says they're devastated by his death and they're now urgently seeking more information about the attack. The strike also put 2 other journalists in hospital. One of them remains in a serious condition. And a senior Metropolitan Police officer says he's tired of saying the same words every year after a woman attending the Notting Hill Carnival with her child was stabbed. 3 people were stabbed yesterday at the annual event. The 32-year-old mother is in a serious condition in hospital. Police have also said that 15 officers were assaulted and 90 arrests were made on the first day of the event. A heavy police presence is still in place this evening for the main parade as it continues to pass through the streets of West London. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Tatiana. Now, welcome to GBN Tonight. I'm Martin Daubry. Now, it's the sleaze scandal that simply will not go away. And now Keir Starmer's